guys, thank you so much for joining me today. One thing I really love about makeup is how it never has to be the exact same anytime you do it. Like, you can always make changes, you can always be learning new things. And something I love is seeing someone else's makeup routine, and especially if they're declaring like this is the best way to do it, and then trying that out on myself. I think that's so much fun. One of my favorite people to follow on TikTok, her name is McKenna Goddard, and I think she's fairly newly out of college. She does a ton of bridal makeup and traveling around doing seminars and classes, and she was talking about like her full glam look and the sequence of products, and it's very different from my normal way of doing things makeup wise. And I know I've switched up the sequence before in different ways, but this is yet another way to do it. And I mean, we're not just putting on concealer right after foundation, we're not putting powder products on right after cream. They're coming, but it's like later. It's just a whole different thing. But I've been playing with this routine on and off for a week or so, and it does end up looking really good. So that was when I was like, I think I'm gonna do a video showing how I'm doing this. And again, all credit goes to her. I will link to her TikTok down below. And this bridal makeup, by the way, I follow several people who will vlog their like day in the life of a makeup artist, bridal type of stuff, and it's like they're getting their stuff out of their car, they're going in, they're glamming up like 7 to 10 people, and you're seeing those kind of before and afters. You're seeing what the people who are getting their makeup done say about what they want, and then their reaction to what they get, and it's just like, I love watching that stuff. And McKenna does that, and a couple other people I watch. Shelby, I've talked about her before, and it's just heartwarming. I don't know, I love watching that. So I'm going to start off my look with a primer. I already have my skincare on, and by the way, I won't be using all the same products as McKenna because I don't have all the same products that she has, but it's more about the technique and the steps. So I'm going to start off with a primer. This is my Wet n Wild Clingy with the 5% niacinamide. So this I feel has an easier spread than the e.l.f., but once you really start like finally getting it all completely blended in everywhere, you can feel it thicken up. But initially it spreads across the skin easier, so I kind of like it better. You ever take your grippy primer through your brows? Like makes them stand up? Oh, I need to dampen my beauty blender, BRB. And you know what? I think I'm just gonna try to make this routine all drugstore compared to what McKenna uses. She uses a lot of high-end. The foundation she uses is like the Charlotte Tilbury, I think it's called Beautiful Skin. I had that at one time. I'm gonna use this Maybelline Super Stay. It's the Lumi Matte foundation, and I wear shade 129. This is something I don't think I've tried just on purpose, making it all be drugstore products that I try in her technique. Now I've done a pump, but I'm doing a little extra because she says don't be afraid to go in with plenty of foundation, and she shows like what your skin should look like once it's blended in, and it looks kind of, I don't know, juicy with foundation. So I'm going to use my sponge. This is my little Sonia Kashuk one. It's in my rotation. And we're going to dab this in. That does look pretty. I haven't had the most amazing staying power with this particular foundation, but sometimes environmental factors come into play, or just the way you've chosen to set it different times, just what your skin's going through at any given time. But it's looking pretty. I don't know if my skin looks juicy with product right now. Maybe a little bit in person. I definitely feel like I've got some pretty coverage though. Okay, we're foundationed up, and it's a little more than I might normally put on. Then we're doing our cream steps. So cream contour and cream blush. I know we haven't even put concealer on yet. I'm going to use my e.l.f. Bronzer and contour. This is in light medium. I really like this product. This was among my favorite bronzers, and we're gonna just kind of dot ourselves around there, a little bit here in the hollows of the cheeks. I'm gonna do a little light bit right there on the nose and right down in here. Okay, and then Sephora 56. I haven't talked a lot about the Sephora sale, but if there was something anyone could benefit from having from that sale, it's the Sephora 56 brush. Such a good tool to use for, frankly, any cream face step. I think I've used it for everything throughout my time owning it. Foundation, concealer, but I really have settled in on loving it for cream bronzer and also cream blush. And if you ever see me bust out a red colored one, that is also a 56 that I got years ago as a little VIB gift or something. Alrighty, we're looking pretty chiseled there, I think. Now we need a cream blush. I'm using this Milani Cheek Kiss in the shade Nude Kiss. And there's the brush I was just speaking of, my other Sephora 56. And we're going to dab this in on the cheeks. I like this shade. It doesn't really make me think like nude in a bronzy toasty way. Frankly, it doesn't make me think nude much at all. It's more of like a classic warm pink, I guess. But dabbing that in on my cheeks. I wonder how much older I am than McKenna Goddard. No, we don't need to simmer on that too long. So we have all these cream steps done. We have not yet done concealer, but now is the time for that. This is what literally drove me to try this method, is she was in her video and she's like, if you haven't been saving concealer for the last step of your cream products, you need to try it. She really likes the Too Faced Born This Way Sculpting Concealer. I like that one too, but I'm gonna keep it drugstore and use my Rimmel Multitasker in the shade Sand. And I'm gonna stick to my normal kind of amounts of concealer. And I'm gonna go around my nose a little bit here too. And then I'm going to spread that out a bit with my Sephora 71 brush. And yeah, it kind of is going to feel like, man, am I covering up some of my blush? But there's more blush to come. That's just coming later. But this routine does have really good staying power on me. I've used it with different products. I've worked in like the same concealer she uses and used my House Labs foundation. I've tried different things and it does give some pretty good consistent wear. So here I am now just taking my beauty blender or my Sonia Kashuk sponge. And you can see how it is looking like really flawless. I think this does something for just how blended and brightened the under eye area looks. It's like instead of blush having the final say, concealer has the final say. But like I said, we still do go in with some powder face steps. It's just later after eyes. I'm trying to make sure I get all up in here. But yeah, I feel like it's for the brightening, doing that concealer at this point. And she says also come in on like the side of your nose. I don't know how much I did that, but right to the side of your nose with the concealer. I think we're good on that for now. And then we bring in powder to set the under eye. I'm using my new Wet n Wild Soft Pink. Loving this. Triangle powder puff. Get some of that. And we're going to hit the under eye with this. And our T-zone a little bit. And then she takes a separate powder that doesn't look as mattifying, I guess, and brightening as what she uses on the under eye, and lightly goes over the whole face with that. It's just fascinating what people come up with. And you look at your own routine and you're like, this is so different from what I do every day. Is this better? And I feel like my takeaway is both can work well, but like, why not try? Especially if you're having staying power struggles with the way you're currently doing something. I will say this is like a full glam take on makeup, okay? It's every step. It really does cater to full coverage. So there's my Wet n Wild on my super brightened under eye. And then she takes that pressed Charlotte Tilbury powder and kind of goes over the rest of the face lightly. I'm going to take my e.l.f. Halo Glow. This is the powder filter in light neutral. And I'm just going to super lightly take some of this because I don't want to dim down everything I've done with cream. But it totally does dim down that blush. There we are. That's our stopping point for face for now. And then we do brows. And I'm going to fill in my brows, but then we're going to like carve them out. I'm taking CoverGirl Clean Fresh Nano Dark Brown, the really, really skinny pencil. And we're just going to fill in the brows. I've been like decluttering and swatching, and my hands still have some stains even after washing them a lot of times since then. It's the kind of full-scale declutter that can't be quite covered in a video. It's mainly lip products. Trying to get more organized on my lip stuff, trying to get rid of lip products that I've had on hand way too long, get rid of what I'm not using, and create space for the things that I want to put in my storage, not just have like all over the surface of my desk. Guess what, guys? We're gonna have some rain today, and I don't think it's gonna be severe. Can you believe it? I can't get over the amount of times I come on here griping about the weather, the severe weather. But I know a lot of you understand because you're dealing with it too. Okay, so I've filled in my brows, I think. I feel like I didn't do it right over here. Brows are one of those funny things. Like, you can do it every day, and then one random day it can feel like, what? Why do you look like that? And then I'm taking the Clean Fresh Gel Wax, and we're gonna kind of brush them up a little. Nothing real different yet from what you're used to seeing me do. And then with the carving step, she takes a lot of concealer and goes all over the eye area. And I have a little hesitation about too much thickness of product laying down all over my eyelids and trusting that that's going to last. So here's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to put on some eyeshadow primer, and I've been testing. I've been really trying to test this Wet n Wild eyeshadow primer a lot lately. Get some of that and go ahead and prime my lids with it. And then we'll carve out closer up to the brow and just not take it all the way down to the eyelids, okay? And if you're going up with like the doe foot applicator of a concealer, I feel like I tried that one day and I felt like it was easy to get way overloaded, but a little stick can give you a much more pinpointed application. And this is my NYX Pro Fix stick. It's in the shade Fair. I remember getting into this for a while because I felt like it helps the RBF somewhat. If your brows come down, when you're at rest, like this brightens you up and keeps the brows kind of more lifted looking. So I'm drawing that in. The main area for this is just the inner half of the brow. And then you can take your little concealer brush, anything kind of pinpointed, and just blend that in. And if you've gone over your brows a little too much, like I just did right there, because this has coverage, you can go in and like refill, but it really brightens up this area. And for a little bit here until your eye look is done, you look a little crazy, but this does serve a purpose. I'm filling in again right here just because I kind of went on top. It looks a little stark and funny right now, but that's okay. McKenna didn't go through her whole eye look in this video that I was kind of going off of for this routine. So I'm just going to do, you know, basic eye look for me. I'm going to use Milani Gilded Nude. I'm going to keep her in mind a little bit with what I see from her. I'm going to take this shade called Do Not Disturb up here. And we're just going to get a softly defined crease going. I'm wanting to rediscover these Milani palettes. These are nice. And the color scheme here kind of reminds me of something I pulled out into my palette curation station from Viseart. But I also pulled out the Gilded Terra palette. They got some pretty ones. Okay, so take this shade up as high as you want to. I'm trying to work it up and up and up. Okay, then I'm taking this like kind of peachy color here called Me Time. It's another matte. Same brush. And hit the edge. Then I'm going to deepen my crease a little bit. It's a shimmery shade, but I feel like it's going to work. I'm going to take the color called Pampered. Kind of a taupey with shimmer. Yeah. And just continue using that crease brush, but use this in the like outer part of the crease. Flat brush, I want some depth. I'm going to go to Chill right down here. Matte brown. Patting that on my outer corner. Darkness on the outside, I tell you, if you're not working with the best and thickest lashes, or you're not intending to put on a false lash, where else is your lift going to come from? It's going to come from the shadow you do. This is maybe my one thing where I raise my hand to the latest generation of makeup peeps and say, hey, it's okay to work in a little bit of dark shadow there. Same shade, but with my small pointed brush. Because now you can see we've got it in that outer lid area, but we really want to make sure it's hitting the crease. And you don't have to use it in a giant winged out way. Gosh, these blend well. Just something fading out easily there. See how smooth that's looking right now? And it's not all that dark. And I'm going back to that crease brush and just really make sure that looks blended on the edges, okay? I feel like I'm kind of whizzing through the eye look, but let's face it, this is mostly about the face for me. Then I'm keeping this matte. I'm going back to Me Time, our peachy friend right there, with a slightly smaller brush. This is my Morphe Small Flat Pointed, as I've called it. I link to every brush I'm using in order down below. And look, just a classic, easy matte eye. These mattes are so nice. That kind of made me just want to stick with mattes when I was working with that dark brown. Okay. Easy. Maybelline I Am Determined from the Color Tattoo line. Use this as my lazy liner across the top. Do I have a little sharpener in this? I think I'm actually going to use it for once. I want this to be just a little more pinpointed than it is. More like when it was new. See, that'll do. So this is just amounting to some smudgy darkness at the lash line. It's very easy to do when you're using one of these jumbo sticks. And this one, as opposed to some others I have, this is just like a matte deep brown, cool brown. It doesn't bring a lot of shimmer in. I'm going to take it on the lower outer part. It's like you smudged eyeshadow there, but it's gonna last and hang on all day. Next, I'm just gonna pop on some mascara and I'll be right back. Biscuits is here. Yes, she's a sweetie. She says, oh, those chin scratches. I was wanting to use CoverGirl Exhibition Stretch and Strengthen again, but I didn't realize I owned a backup. So I busted that out and then I used my e.l.f. lash extender on the lower lashes. So at this point in time, this is where McKenna would go in and take several powder steps to just kind of amp up the look. So powder bronzer, powder blush, powder highlighter. And I do think this has contributed to me having pretty good staying power doing these steps like at the tail end. I'm going to use this NYX Buttermelt in Deserve Butter. So it doesn't have to be heavy with any of these products. But like she was saying, if you're doing a really glam look, it kind of ensures that your bronzer and blush have not disappeared in the coverage of it all from earlier. So we're going back over the bronzer zones. And then I chose a blush that was going to bring a little extra glow back to my skin. So this is the Physicians Formula Butter Glow Pressed Powder in Natural Glow. Very Laura Geller-esque. And I'm just going to get my e.l.f. blush brush in that and take that over my cheeks. Really let it come back up and reclaim that blush spot, blush placement. Why don't you just be a little sweetheart? You can sit there anytime. She's like, Mommy, you cleaned. I can sit here now. Super pretty. Got that cheek going. And then this one is so pretty. The Baked Highlighter from Milani. Dolce Perla is the shade. A little bit of that with my Real Techniques setting brush. And just hit right there on the tops of the cheeks. I like to kind of place that under my eye. Like not directly up under, but on the part of my cheek that's kind of under my eye. Because then I feel like head on, you really get the benefit of it, you know? You feel me? Doing that, taking some glow up here. And then some setting spray. I'm using Milani Make It Last. A little more than I might usually do. Tell you what, I don't normally get makeup in my hair, and I don't know how I avoid it, but I think I might have gotten some in there today. Okay, I'm going to finish this out with a little lip combo. I'm going to use one of my lipsticks that I shopped my stash for. This is Hush Lil Beige from Wet n Wild. I'm going to put some of that on. Apply that in a real casual way, and then we're going to clean up with some lip liner. Lip liner will be Rimmel Lasting Finish 90s Nude. Things are starting to come to life. I am really happy with the way the complexion looks though. Like I feel so fully covered and I do feel like the brightness of the under eye really gets to shine in this method. And then for a gloss, I'm going to take Call Me Boss from the Mega Slicks range of Wet n Wild. This is kind of sheer, but it's got like a beautiful shine. Juicy. So there is my finished look, friends. I think it looks really good. Looks-wise, I'm trying to think, like, does it look leaps and bounds different from the way I might do my makeup? And there is something about the freshly done at the end bronzer, blush, and highlight that, I don't know, brings those steps forward a little bit more for me. And doing the concealer and setting the concealer after contour, I think there really is something to that. But like I said, it's fun to keep learning. It's fun to keep trying new things, being inspired. Does it always result in like a wildly different look? Like these are my tones that I like to wear a lot, but just putting things together in a different way, that's enough to excite me, you know? So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you all again very soon. I love you. Bye.